Where's my money? We'll be rich. The money! All night long, I listen to the sound of money. Oh!
You don't want to shoot me, do you?
Caesar, you don't know.
Bound.
And we're back again with
David.
Right.
And for this go around, we're going to talk about movies that made a splash initially. Movies that were like going crazy critically and even on an independent film scale did pretty well financially. But as time has gone on, for one reason or another, kind of just got buried by the sands of time, either just because people stopped talking about it or because certain elements relating to it kind of overshadowed it and made people forget about it. And the movie we got today,
Bound.
and it's from the...
No. I'm not getting it wrong again.
It's from the Wachowski brothers, who
I cannot pronounce that name. I don't know why.
Yeah, who most people now know are embarrassed to say they liked, because yes, they made a big splash with the Matrix movies, and then later on kept making little bombs with Cloud Atlas, Jupiter Ascending, and honestly, I think it's severely underrated. Speed Racer.
Bound was the movie they made before The Matrix.
Yeah.
The only reason why this movie is not more well known is because The Matrix came out like a year or two after it. I first heard about it on Siskel and Ebert.
What these directors have, the Wachowski brothers, is an impeccable sense of timing.
Yes.
They know how to leave just enough slack in their story. And this is a tightly written story.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Watched it and went, oh my god, this is incredible. And then, like most of the people, I had forgotten about it for about 20 years. I just picked this up because they came out with a new version of it, and I went, oh, goody, I've got to see this movie again. And then we were talking, and I discovered that he hadn't seen it, and, well, I said, this is an absolutely perfect rare delicacy.
Yeah, I got to watch a good amount of it, and I remember really enjoying it. And this, of course, like a lot of people, jumped on it because the Wachowskis hit big with The Matrix, and that was around the point where people were like, oh my god, I want to... It's kind of like after Batman Begins came out, and people wanted to know about, where did this guy come from? Then they went to go back and watch Memento. Kind of the same thing, so I was kind of jumping on it like the same way a lot of film enthusiasts were at the time. So I forget why, but I didn't finish it. And for years I'd been kicking myself because I remember really enjoying it.
Now, it's my understanding that what little people remember about it is, well, let's be blunt, the lesbian sex scene.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get past that, it's a very, very good thriller.
Another thing that's kind of sad to me is that the main cast is Jennifer Tilly, Gina Gershon, and Joe Pantoliano. Well, Jennifer Tilly's still consistently working to this day, but Gina Gershon, she had like she had a streak around that time, and this film was amongst it. And then just kind of disappeared after that.
Which is a crying shame.
Yeah, it is a shame because when she was on.
Yeah.
Like, big time. And Joe Pantoliano has always been that kind of reliable character actor. Even before Bound, he was in The Fugitive. He was in The Goonies.
I didn't remember that.
He was one of Monfortelli's clan. And of course, most people knew him as Cypher in The Matrix. They carried him over into The Matrix.
Actually, it's funny. I remember him from The Sopranos.
Yeah, that too. Well, no, he was another guy who was, you could always rely on him to play scummy, mousy, like wormy types. And of course, Memento was. I say my favorite with him was Memento. So we're kind of on a kind of degrees here. You see it, love it. I saw it, really enjoyed what I did see.
Never seen it.
You've never seen it.
So I can't wait.
Yeah,
Neither can I.
Even for as little as I do remember about it, I'm like going, oh, you're gonna have a good time with this. What little knowledge of it do you have?
Bound, nothing except he mentioned, I think there was something with your mom at some point. You said that when this was the one that...
Yeah, okay, tell us the story.
All right. Basically, my mother was very straight-laced and didn't like sex scenes in movies, and particularly didn't like anything a gay or lesbian sex scene. So I went up to her after I saw this movie and said, Mom, I really, really think you'll like this film. And I'm going to warn you right now, there's a sex scene in it, but just get past that and you'll like it. Well, I don't want it. Just please, I'm begging you, watch this film. And we got to the scene, and she said, I don't want to see this. And I said, just power through this. And by the end of the movie, she turned to me and said, you're right. This was a great film. And I will admit, it's a bit of a bog standard thriller, but it's played extremely well. I found it very interesting. I was reading this. This is considered an LGBTQ drama, cinema. And at the time, because it came out in the early 90s, they really, I don't know, I mean, yes, it existed, but this was probably one of the first big, relatively big hits of that genre.
David had told me that story, and he also told me it was by the same fellows who made The Matrix. That's all I know.
I mean, it is a thriller, first and foremost, and it has even been interpreted as just a really good love story.
Yeah.
As well.
I should also mention there are two versions on this. There's the theatrical version, which is R-rated, and an unrated version. We're going to watch the unrated version today.
Of course.
Because I'm sure it's closer to the director's vision. But
usually tends to be.
Is.
Yeah. And I can see why they had to probably cut some parts out for an R rating because, let's face it, I think NC-17 was around, NC-17 had been around that.
Yeah, it was.
So if there was a lesbian sex scene in it, if it got too much at all, that would have definitely triggered the NC-17 rating, and that was the kiss of death back then.
Yeah, if it hadn't been NC-17, it would have gone to X with same thing, same effect.
Yeah, even then, I've never known any. I think the only filmmaker I've encountered who's still daring enough to go for a hard X is freaking Lars von Trier. Yeah, with the Nymphomaniac saga. Yeah. Nowadays, it's even considered a kiss of death to even go R nowadays, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
And I love how nowadays everyone acts like, just goes blah when an R-rated movie banks. And I mean, like, really banks. I mean, remember when Deadpool banked? Everyone went and, like, all the press, everyone was, like, going crazy, like, an R-rated movie did that well? Oh my god! The floodgates are open! Everyone start making R-rated things. No, just make good movies.
Yeah.
Two people who want the same thing, they get in a room, they start to plan. It's kind of like flirting. You're having second thoughts. I'm just making a point.
Joe Pantoliano was instructed by the Wachowskis to watch Treasure of the Sierra Madre and base his Caesar character on Humphrey Bogart's Fred C. Dobbs. Jennifer Tilly named Violet as the best role she's ever had. Frank Miller's Sin City and Billy Wilder were the Wachowskis' influences behind the film. When executives at some studios read the script, they told the Wachowskis that if they changed the character of Corky to that of a man, they would be interested. The siblings declined, saying, "That movie's been made 1,000,000 times, so we're really not interested in it." Wachowskis, what happened? Why did you forsake this? Why did you leave this behind? These are our concerns, Wachowskis.
This is an awesome film.
This is an incredible film. They still had the style that is quintessentially Wachowskis, but it didn't have to go overboard. There's not a single stylish flourish in this film that felt fake or superficial. Every single camera angle in this movie served a purpose. To either ramping the tension, to selling the emotional connection between two characters, and it's I hadn't seen the whole thing. I hadn't seen it up until they and I always remember feeling bad because I remember I was really into it. So what about you?
Loved it. Loved it. I mean, serious thriller.
Yeah.
And, I mean, of course, the thing that, of course, everyone's going to want to talk about, because, of course, with the relationship between Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon, it was kind of a thing back in the 90s when they started, featuring lesbian characters more. I mean, of course, this was the age when Ellen came out. This was the age of Chasing Amy, and unfortunately, there were still lesbian characters being written by guys. And they ended up being played off a bit more, well, let's face it, the way guys perceive them to be. It seemed like they didn't really want to focus too much on the fact that it's two women, just the fact that this is just a couple.
Right. Yeah.
Which I applaud them for, and I like how once the movie focuses on the core of what it's all about, I like that it just sticks to that. It doesn't treat it like, ooh, it's about two women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they could have gone that way, and they didn't. And you're right. I'm very, very glad they did.
Yeah. Because it's always the impulse of Hollywood to keep that as like the big focus because they're thinking that's the big selling point. Matter of fact, I remember even seeing the trailer for this, and I even kind of noticed they downplayed it. Not now, though.
But again, it was the 90s, and if they overhyped the lesbian aspect of it too much, they were probably afraid people would boycott it.
It was a slippery slope back then. I
Yeah.
mean, because of course when Ellen came out, of course it killed the show, or at least the ratings plummeted. Funny enough, but then alternatively, when Chasing Amy did it, it got crazy plaudits and became like a massive independent film hit. I've seen Joe Pantoliano in a lot of things.
He plays the scumbag extremely well.
I mean, it's always weird whenever he plays a virtuous character. I mean, in The Fugitive and in U.S. Marshals, it was so weird seeing him actually on the good guy side. So, yeah, it's especially weird. And even in Memento, by interpretation, he is kind of a good guy character. This, I think, was probably his pinnacle.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they picked his role for Sopranos based on this.
I didn't see any weak link anywhere in the cast.
Yeah.
There was everybody was just, I mean, from the mob boss to their son and
Christopher Maloney.
Christopher Maloney's in this too, who back then was like just another guy, but nowadays,
like, oh crap!
Yeah, now it's like, oh, Christopher Maloney. Hello.
No real spoiler, you'll know it when you see it, but single best death line ever. That's all I'll say.
It was a pretty great death. I mean,
man.
Yeah.
When he kills the big mob boss
Gino
and his son, and the fellow they brought with him, I'm sitting there thinking, all she has to do is get one of their guns, shoot him, wipe her prints off, and they run. But then again...
Well, then where's the money?
Yeah,
exactly.
Where's the money? And of course, Mickey would want to know, okay, why didn't she contact me? She's got it. So
exactly. Mickey was a fascinating character. We don't see him very often, but a lot of people kept, being lecherous towards Violet. You had Johnny who just like being the typical monster. I got the vibe that Mickey actually legitimately had affection for her, like sincere, like he actually kind of loved her to an extent.
Well, like a daughter. In
a way, but yeah.
It's like, hey,
but either way,
you don't need to see this. You don't need to hear this. Why don't you go take a walk? Well, but Caesar wants me to stay. I'll take care of Caesar.
Yeah. And then in that last scene, you got this feeling like he's actually kind of relieved that she's okay. You even get the feeling that even if he does suspect that she got the money, he probably wouldn't care at that point. He probably would just let her go.
Yeah, you're out.
Yeah, he probably would be like, you know what? Look where you were. I wouldn't be surprised if you took, $2 million from these clowns.
Muster out pay.
Yeah. It says a lot that with the writing being this acute, that they're still able to give that level with a character who's only been really in just 2 scenes of the movie, like 2 major scenes of the movie.
Yeah.
And and of course a lot of credit has to go to the actor himself to be able to convey that level of subtlety. But this all leads me to just the fact that I want to cry about the fact of how far the Wachowskis have kind of fallen from the promise that they had.
Well, I guess after The Matrix, maybe they just let it get to their heads or something.
That's probably the most likely case. I mean, the last real success they had post-Matrix, and it wasn't even a movie they directed, it was a movie they wrote, was V for Vendetta. That's pretty much it. But every other movie they just wrote and directed afterwards just...
Yeah.
And it's a shame because some of them had potential. Like Cloud Atlas, I know they did as a collaboration with Tom Tickver. And some people said it was actually really great. Some are just like, call it pretentious drag.
With this particular one, it seems like there's so much good writing in the sense that, I've forgotten who said it, but they said, there's a special phrase for a coincidence that gets your characters in trouble. That's good writing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, especially, established at the very first, the walls are really thin, you can hear everything, and then the fact that he realizes that he's on the phone and he's hearing it ring in the other room.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also a special word for a coincidence that gets your characters out of trouble. That's cheating. So,
yeah.
Which there was none in this one. But
and some things there are some you could probably chalk it up to it.
Just good writing.
Yeah, I mean, there's moments you could chalk it up to coincidence, but when you remember the situation and what's going on, you really can't be that surprised when certain characters are going to turn up. Especially like when Mickey and that other guy turn up right before he's about to go all Robert Durant on Jennifer Tilly. So. But you remember, oh, wait a minute, everyone's going to be going all crazy looking for the boss and all that stuff, so of course they would come here.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of just bad timing. It's
and
not
particularly after they even said, we went to the son's place, it was trashed.
Yeah.
We tried calling you, the line was out, we said, oh crap, they might
we got to
be
head over there right now, so they would rush. Actually, another one to talk about, would be Jennifer Tilly. Most
Yes,
of the time.
please.
Yes, we will talk about the Bride of Chucky. We're fine. Yeah, we absolutely will.
I'm not sure how. I'm pretty sure the woman could order Chinese food and make it sound sexy. It's really quite interesting.
One thing I've always said about her, and I've always said this is a detriment to certain actors, is when they always find themselves bound by their natural demeanor, like where they don't really get a chance to.
Christian Slater.
Yeah. I'd even say Jesse Eisenberg, Michael Cera, basically actors who, because of their natural demeanor, they're not really able to broaden their range, like able to do different types of characters. Jennifer Tilly is one who's always kind of continuously astonished me, where, yeah, because she has that unmistakably distinct voice, I've always been impressed about the kind of roles she's been able to play. And this character, you could even say, is kind of a darker variation of the character from, her character from Bullets Over Broadway, where in that movie was pretty much the stereotypical gangster moll. There's never once that I felt that it took me out of it, that I was watching Jennifer Tilly. I felt like I was watching Violet.
Yeah, and she was such a complex character,
Yeah.
very, very good at acting the dumb attractive woman, when in reality she was quite possibly the smartest person in the room.
Oh yeah.
Could have been easily the mastermind of the whole thing.
Yeah, and the fact that she does such a really good job selling the gravity of the situation, depending on what was going on in the scene at the time. You are seriously gripping your seat, hoping that she comes out of it okay. Her and Corky.
Well, and I will admit, the first time I saw it, I wondered if she wasn't going to pull double cross on Corky.
I was curious myself.
That was another thing, particularly the way the movie kicks off with Corky tied up in the closet. You're wondering if that's how it's going to go, but.
Yeah, well, the whole time that it's looking like it looks for the world like they're going to get clean away, but you keep remembering it starts with her tied up in the shoe closet, so it's like something had to have happened.
No plan survives contact with the enemy.
And not even that, but the shots of her in the closet tied up, but hearing all the ruckus happening outside, they could go south for Corky no matter what. And even after all said and done, I was thinking that at some point she was going to put one in Corky, and I would have felt bad, because they did a good job establishing why Corky should be sympathetic.
Yeah.
She's just the person who's just trying to, in the beginning of this whole thing, just trying to work rough, just trying to get on with her life, and then pulled right back into probably the biggest shitstorm anyone could ever get pulled back into.
Yeah, I just want to keep my head down, get laid, and do my job.
And then all of a sudden, the first job I get is next door to a money launderer, the money man of a major mob family. His arm candy is pretty damn smart and pretty attractive. And I was like, dang it. There are some filmmakers that started with their modest roots who became something exceptional. I mean, of course, we just discovered David Fincher when we did our Twice Upon a Time. We discovered that the David Fincher who worked on that is, in fact, the same David Fincher we know and love as the director of Seven, Social Network. Look at what he did from his modest beginnings. I mean, that guy was just a music video director, and look what he did now. Christopher Nolan, practically a similar start to the Wachowskis with Following and Memento. Look where he is now. I mean, around the time the Wachowskis and Shyamalan, those two were like the golden children of filmmaking around that time. And then, yeah. But you know what? Shyamalan got back in people's good graces, so who knows? Maybe one day, Wachowskis, come on.
Yeah. Next movie could be fantastic.
It could be.
Well, using this more as a model, please.
Yeah.
Matrix, pretty, but
I'll say, in my opinion, you absolutely owe it to yourself to see this movie if you have not.
Definitely.
It is fantastic.
Oh no, this is easily menu worthy for people who had a cynical attitude towards Wachowskis. Oh yeah, definitely get out there, find it. It's on Blu-ray now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on the Olive Collection, which Olive Signature Collection. I've never heard of these people. They did a great. Well, from what little I've seen of it so far, they've done a great job, and it has a ton of extras.
Exactly. So you got a nice juicy plate to clean off of. So, so I think it's safe to say this one is truly on the menu.
Welcome to the family.
I have a tattoo. Would you like to see it?
Put it in his mouth.